Hello and welcome again. In this tutorial, I'm going to focus on classes and objects. How do we create class? How do we create an object? What is a constructor, a destructor? How can we use setter getter functions? What is a private member variable? How can we use different access specifiers like public, private, and protected? How can we define macros? So let's get started with the example. So we are going to create one Win32 console application again. Let's add main.cpp. Also we will have a class defined in a different header and cpp file. Let's say my class. We'll have a header file of the same name. Okay, so how do we define this class, my class? Before the definition, we will make it sure that this class is not already defined. So to assure this, we use macro. If a macro of the same format is not defined, it means the class is not defined. So this can be used for bigger projects. It is very difficult to remember the name of each and every class. So to better ensure this, that the class definition should not be done twice, we make use of the macros. So to define a macro, we use hash define, and to check whether the macro is defined or not, we use hash if and def. Now we will start defining our class. So this is the head part, that is a class, and this is the class name, my class. By default, every member of the class is private. So if we want to make it public, then we use the access specifier public. We will add a constructor which will be of the same name as the class name. This is my constructor. Then destructor also has the same name but a tilde symbol. Constructor is called when the object is created, and the destructor is called when the object is destroyed. So at that time, when the object is destroyed, we can do some important cleanups in the destructor function. Let's have a setter getter function. Let's have a member variable first. The variable which we are going to set in that setter function, and the same variable's value we will get in the getter function. So let's have some variable called int number of students. Whatever functions I am declaring here, what is shown here, these are all the declarations, not the definitions. These definitions we are going to define in the .cpp file. So this const is there because we are going to add more security to the value what we are passing. The value will not change if the const is there. And in the get number of students, this function is a const function. It means it will never change the value of any member variable in the class. Okay, So let's define these functions and define these constructors and destructors. For that we will include my header file. The definition will not be followed by semicolon. For defining we use scope resolution operator. First we'll initialize this number variable in the constructor. The value what is getting passed in this function will be set to this variable, and finally we are going to return this variable when this function is called. The return type is int type, which is of the same type as underscore I number of students. So okay, now let's go to the main function, and this will act as a client. Main function will create an instance of the class. It will create an object. I will show you how we create an object of the class. We create the object in two ways. We create the object on the stack, also we create the object on the heap. We'll include the myclass.h header file. Let's ensure that the functions are public. Okay. Uh, so this is the entry point in the application, int main, returning 0. So this object is created on the stack, so we don't need to worry about the deletion of the object. The OS will take care of the deletion and freeing of the memory. Whenever the object is created, it will call the constructor and it will display that constructor is invoked. Okay. Now when we want to use any of the functions in this class using that object, we have two functions, getNum and setNum. So we will set the number of students. Right now it was 0 in the initial stage. Now let's set it to 19, and Okay, so that's all. Let's put a get char so that we can see the output. And now let's build it. Build succeeded. Okay, now I will show you how we can debug. uh, when you have to debug, you can put a breakpoint. You can just click on the left portion and just press F5. F5 means execution will start. When you have to go to the next line, you can press F10 to go inside. By default, these settings, whatever is there, I'm telling you those shortcuts. To go inside a function, you can press F11 key. To come out of the function, you can press Shift F11, and to continue, you can press F5. So the first thing what we are doing here, we are creating the object of the my class. So what should happen when this line will be executed? When it will go to the next line, before going to the next line, it will call the constructor of the my class. Okay, so it will come here. We will put a breakpoint here and we'll press F5. We'll see it comes here. So the constructor is invoked. When the constructor is invoked, when an instance of the class is created, doesn't matter if it is created on the stack or it will be created on the heap, it doesn't matter. Okay, now we have the call stack here. This call stack shows what is the flow starting from the below. We can see it came to the main function first. You can see the green arrow. Okay, so it was the previous location. Now double click here. This yellow arrow shows that the pointer is currently here. Okay, so this will be invoked. Now to go back from where it is getting called, to go back to the main, we will press Shift F11. It will come back here. Now the next thing, it will print the number of students initially will be how much. So we can just mouse over here and we can explore this. Number of students is 0, so it will say get number of students. Get number of students is returning this variable itself. Okay, so this variable's value will be printed on my console. Let's go inside this. We'll say F11 and get number of students is 0. This we have initialized here, so the value is 0. Otherwise it would have given some junk values. If we'll initialize it to 100, it will come as 100. Okay, now go back, Shift F11. It will print on the console. Number of students initially is 0. Constructor is invoked, number of students initially is 0. Now let's set number of students to 19. We'll go inside the function. We'll see the value of this is currently 0. Now when this line is executed, I'll say F10. Now it will be 19. Okay, you can see in the watch also. You can just right click, add watch, so you can explore. If you have so many values, so you can easily see. You can extend the window and you can see. Okay, now say Shift F11. We'll go back and now we are going to print on the console the new value. So it will go to the same function, invoke the same function and return the same value, one new value whatever we have set. So it will return 19, and when we say F10, the number of students finally is 19. And this is the way how we invoke one function using the object. So here we are not worrying about the deletion of the object. As I already said you, the OS will take care of the deletion. But when we are creating an object on the heap, then we assure that the memory is freed up or and the object is deleted, otherwise it will be a memory leak. So how do we create object on the heap? Let's see that. We'll delete this. Now for creating object on the heap, we are creating a pointer of the class p, uh, pointer to the object. Okay, now we are instantiating this. This is the uh, pointer to my class. Now it will be instantiated to, we will create an instance of my class. Okay, so this object, this pointer will get a memory location. A memory will be allocated to p object. Okay, once a memory is allocated to p object, it will have the size of what what is the class, how many bytes this class is taking, depending upon the how many data types it has. It will it can set the value, it can get the value, it can access any function using that address. So one address will be allocated to p object. Now when we do this again, as a previous case when we were creating an instance on the stack, the constructor was getting called. So similar case is this. When we are saying new my class, then the constructor will be invoked. It will say constructor is invoked. Now let's print the value in this initial level. Okay, let's do a little change. um, let's initialize it to 5. Okay, okay, so now and to invoke using pointer, we use arrow. Before we were using dot operator, now we are using arrow operator. Get number of students, so it will return me the current number of students in the initial level. Now um, we are going to set the number of students to let's say 2051. So there are huge number of students now, and we are going to use the same function to get the number of students after setting it. So finally will be this much. Now when I will not delete this p object, then I will give some memory leak to my software. So I don't want to do that. Once the work is done with my p object, I will delete this object and I'll set it to null pointer. Okay, we can initially also give a null pointer value here. Okay, so let's delete this. For deletion, we use the delete operator, and we'll delete this object. Means the memory will be freed, and now I will set it to null pointer, so that if we won't do this, it will become a dangling pointer. So at that time, null pointer check will be a trouble for us. Okay, so let's see what is happening now. We'll build it, debug it one by one. So this is a very important thing you should see. In the beginning, there is some junk value in this p object, 0xcc, some hexadecimal value, and nothing is there inside this. It is not. It is error. Its expression cannot be validated, it says. And when we say after we execute this line, it sets it to 0. It means it is initialized to 0. This pointed to my class. Now no memory location is there. It means it, if I will call any function, it will just crash the program. Okay, now when I say new my class, we will get a memory location in the P object and the constructor will be invoked, right? Now see what is the value. What is the address? So the address is, we have got some address and the number of students is 5. Why it is 5? Because we have initialized it to 5 in the beginning. When the constructor is invoked, before that it is initialized it to 5. So the value is 5. Okay. Now we are going to get the number of students from this function and we are going to print it on the console. Okay, it will return 5 and will print it on the console. Okay, initially is 5. Now in the next function I am going to set the value as 2051. It will set it to 2051. Okay, now it is 2051. It will return also 2051. In the same way it will print number of students finally is 2051. Now we should delete this, we should free this memory up. Now after executing this, the memory is freed, but it is right now also it is holding the memory location. It means it has become a dangling pointer. For this we should set it to null pointer. Now how it was before, now it is like that. Now the memory is also freed, the object is also holding no memory values. So this is the thing. I hope you enjoyed and I hope you learned when the constructor is invoked, when the destructor is invoked. The destructor is getting invoked when we are deleting the object.